Hi folks, Steve Chang from Team Lure It In. Just thought I'd take you through some options today on spooling up fishing reels. It's the new tournament season and it's about to kick off this weekend. And I was about to spool up some reels myself, and I realised some of my mates actually struggle with tangles and things like that in their braid and fishing lines, and that can be because they don't put their fishing lines on correctly. There's two different types of fishing reels. You've got the baitcast reel, which I'll take you through first, and then I'll take you through a spin outfit. The important thing on both is, or one of the important things on both, is to attach a little bit of mono to the spool to start with, and you can do that in a number of different ways. I've just used a pretty basic knot just to attach this foot of mono to the baitcast reel. I'll take you through this. I'll be attaching my preferred brand of line, which is the Platypus brand of braids. They have a number of different types of braid. They come in different sizes, and obviously they come in all different sorts of colours as well, from high vis to to low visibility and stealth type lines. So we'll get started, and I'll show you how to set those reels up. Hi folks, welcome back. Just about to show you how to spool up the baitcast reel with line. There's a few things that you will need. So first of all, you're going to need some scissors, some good quality scissors. These are braid scissors. You'll need a sturdy rod. I'm using just a masonry drill bit, but you can use a sturdy pen, a bolt, whatever you need to, and you will need a bucket of water. The reason why you need a bucket of water, particularly if you're using nylon, nylon in particular, if you wind the spool, if you wind the line onto the spool and it's dry, when you go out fishing, it absorbs water. The nylon absorbs water and it expands, and as it expands it can crack the spools or warp the spools. So really important that if you're using nylon or fluorocarbon, definitely have a bucket of water. I use it with braid as well because it just prevents friction and heat as you're winding it onto your spool. Then the next thing you've got to do is I've probably put it through the runners of the rod, and as you know, we've already got our nylon on our spool. So next thing you've got to do is attach the nylon to the braid. Just using any knot. I'm just using a connect knot here, but you can use any sort of knot. This isn't really the business end of the of your line, but I use a connect knot. I like to just make sure that it's a decent knot up this end anyhow. Once you've got that completed, just cut off the tag ends of both the nylon and the braid, and you're ready to go. Important, especially for those nylons, that you leave your line sitting in that water for a good 4 or 5 minutes before you try and wind it onto your spool. You want to make sure that it is nice and wet. Okay, so once you've got that done, just take up the slack. Now it's really important with a baitcast reel, the line's going to come on over the top of the spool. The way it's going to wind on is over the top, so as you spin around, the spool revolves round over the top. You want your line to go on the same way, so you want the line to come off of your spool like this. It can come over the top, but it needs to come over. Don't let it come off the side of the spool this way. This is a baitcast reel, and if you do that, you'll actually get line twist and you'll get line knots. And that's something you really don't want to do when you're out fishing. So really important that we do it that way. So I'm using Platypus Platinum braid at the moment, 15 pound. What we need to do is just pop that through and just make sure that it comes off over the top nicely. So what we'll do, I've got an assistant just over the back here. She will help me by winding the line on nice and smoothly. Set your drag so it's at a decent tension, and then using your hands, just a second, then using your hands and thumbs, tension the spool so that it goes onto your fishing spool nice and tightly. Okay, so that's the lesson for putting line onto a bait cast reel. I'll come back. I'll show you the finished product of that in just a second. Okay, so I've just swapped places with my assistant so I can show you the other thing that I do. I always hold the line between my two fingers so that I know that the right tension's going on as well. And you'll get to know what the right tension is, and your reel will look nice and tight and well packed as you're putting, as you get to the business end of it. So. Now it's really important not to overspool your reels as well. If you overspool them, you'll get overruns and line twist, and it'll make fishing really uncomfortable and really unpleasant. So I'll show you what a decent looking spool should look like. Now again, this was using about 15-pound platypus platinum braid. You can put whatever line you need on there, but for bass, particular bait cast gear, when you're throwing spinner baits or jackals, dress jackals, that type of thing, spinner baits are spin reels or bait cast reels are really good for that. Okay, so here is what a full spool should look like. As you can see, it's not over full or over spooled, and that's just about perfect for going out and throwing those big heavy lures. This particular reel will throw really light lures as well, but that's how you set up a bait cast reel. Hi folks, you've just seen how you put a spool of line onto a bait cast reel. Now I'll take you through putting it onto an egg beater or threadline outfit. A few differences in the mechanics of a threadline reel to a bait cast reel. First of all, as I explained before, on a bait cast reel the spool rolls over the top of itself. On an egg beater the line gets wound on clockwise or anti-clockwise depending on the brand of the reel. And it goes on sideways to the spool, and when you flip it over it casts off the top of the spool or out the side of the spool as well. So it's really important as you're putting your line on that you put it on the same way. Now what that actually means, I'm using some really fine 5-pound platypus braid. This is going to be an awesome line for like jigs and blades and things along those lines for the bass. But the important thing with a spool of line is to make sure it comes off around the spool. Don't hold it side on when you're doing an egg beater. So you want the line to just flow freely off the side of it. So get your friend or whoever's helping you out, or put it in a vise, whatever. But make sure it's held this way so your line comes off sideways. So I'm going to hand that over to my assistant, and I'll spool this up. As I say, I've already attached the line already and trimmed off the tag ends to the mono. So we've got a small knot there, and we're ready to go. Now the reason why you put that mono on is to stop the line from spinning on the reel. It actually gives a bit of tension because mono or fluorocarbon will actually stretch, whereas the braid doesn't, and if the knot's not really tight the line will just spin on the spool. So again, you'll see the way that I do it here. I always have, usually up here, up the top end of the spool, is just have my thumb and finger on the line itself, just to make sure it goes on with enough tension, and just nicely onto the spool. This should be fairly quick to do as well, because it's just spinning off there and you're keeping the tension on with your fingers. So the line should just, you don't have to put any tension on that spool, it should just flow over the sides nice and quickly. And you can go as fast as you like, so long as you're getting enough tension with your two fingers to put that spool on, or put that line on your spool. Again, don't fill your spool too full, because if you do, you will actually have problems where the line will want to flow off the edge of it, and that can cause you some problems. You only want to get the spool probably about 7/8 of the way to the edge, 7/8 of the way full, and that's more than enough for any sort of fishing that you want to do. So there we are, that's what a spool should look like. A little bit of space still at the top of the reel for the line to go on. From here you will trim it at the top of the rod and then attach another leader. But that's how you'll get a reel full of line, either a baitcast or an egg beater reel, and not get as many line knots or twists in your fishing day. So hopefully that's been a tip, something that can help not just my mates but a few people out there. Thanks.